Hey everyone, today is a bit of a scary video for me because I've got this beautiful Laelia jongheana alba that I got a little while ago. It's a small plant, it's a seedling, but it's a really rare plant. It's on the CITES list, and just yesterday Moira found it kind of looking a little bit worse for wear. If you can see, this is the new growth that was starting off, but then it's kind of just fallen off and rotted, and here's the start of the rot. So he kind of took it out of the pot just to see what the state was of the roots and all of that, and obviously found disaster waiting to happen. Luckily we've caught it in time, so hopefully we can save it. So this video is just to show you that, you know, no matter how seasoned a grower you are, you can still get root rot, and you still have to be really vigilant. And so I'm going to show you, this is we managed to separate it from the rotting part. This has got one pseudobulb here. But what we're going to try and do is, because this plant is quite healthy and we don't want the rot to kind of transfer into the whole plant, we've separated it and created two plants. I know they're tiny, but hopefully we'll be able to save both. But at least this way we'll save one, if not both. So what we've done is we've separated them. We used a clean pair of secateurs. As you can see, I have about 3 there, because you just need to have them sterilized all the time, because you really do not want any diseases, fungus, bacteria, anything going from one spot to another. So really important to keep everything sterilized and sanitized. We use hydrogen peroxide. It's available from Carrefour, or a couple of kiosks keep it around my area, so which is quite handy. So just spray your secateurs with the hydrogen peroxide, you know. And what we've done is we've created a little makeshift sprayer just with a bottle. We've just put a sprayer that we had and cut the spike, the sucky thing, very, you know, new terminology, and just created a small sprayer within the bottle, which works perfectly. So what we did was took it out of the pot, cleaned it up, and then we soaked it in physan, you know, which is a really good kind of fungicide, viricide, algicide. You know, it's a disinfectant and a sanitizer. It's really a good product. I got it when I went to America once, you know. The problem with this is that you can't use it if it's a dendrobium, because it's copper based. So please don't use physan if you know, you're doing this with a dendrobium. The other thing we could have used is Trianum, which is lovely, and it's available locally from Koppert. I've used it on my dendrobiums, like I showed you the Amethysta glossa, and it works beautifully. Like, you know, it's a really good product. So if you want to be natural, not using any chemicals, Trianum's your guy to go to. But if you don't mind chemicals, and you can get physan available, you know, you can use that as well. So we basically just split the two plants, cut it, and we just soaked it in a solution of physan. You can see the bubbles there. Oops, oh dear, camera malfunction. You can see the bubbles there, kind of, you know, just disinfecting and sanitizing. So we soaked it in there for about, I would say, half an hour, you know, just so that it gets a good soak, you know. So after giving it a good soak, obviously we've tried to get rid of any of the old media that was left behind, because that might have kind of the rot in it, and I just don't want it to carry on. So remember, soak quite well, and then you have to repot it in new media and new pot, because unless you sterilize it really well. Now this is the pot that it came in. It's a really tiny pot, and obviously because the problem is rot, which just kind of tells me that actually maybe we're watering it too much or it's too humid, and that's why rot is setting in with not enough air circulation. So what I'm going to try this time is I'm going to try my pot, the Carlo, the smaller size, so that it can kind of fit in nicely and things, and hopefully I'll have a better story to tell you in about 6 months time. Now that's the direction of the new growth, so even if I pot it, I might pot it quite close to the rim, but this side being towards the middle, so that if it grows it has enough space for it to grow, and I don't have to kind of repot it in another year or two, so I'm allowing for the room to grow. Now as you might recall, I always tell you that these plants love a tight hug, and so the fact that this pot is so big is quite contradictory to what I normally say. But if I attach it to this, it acts like a mount, but it's not a mount. I'm gonna kind of tie it up here, so it's kind of mounted, but I'm also allowing new growth to happen, so it's just kind of cheating the system a little bit. The media I'm going to use is bark and pumice, which I've soaked as well. I just gave it a quick soak for about 5 minutes, and it's just really rough chunks of bark and pumice, and I think because I want a combination of it being able to hold water but also have really good drainage. We've cut the bark pieces a little bit smaller than what you normally get them at, because the roots are quite tiny. So what I'll do, I'll just place a little bit of the media in there, right, and then I'm just gonna, and just a caveat, before we soaked it in Trianum, obviously I sprayed with before I soaked it in physan, I kind of already had sprayed hydrogen peroxide wherever I'd made a cut. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take support with this hole and kind of just figure out how we can do it. Now we have to be careful because there is this small growth and this small pseudobulb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it a little bit, and then I'm not going to bring the media right up to the top of the pot. I'm going to kind of leave it a little bit below so that it gets the humidity, the roots are in media, but it's not overcrowded by media and kind of standing in a wet medium. So it's kind of just eyeballing it a little bit, kind of thinking on your feet, so that you kind of give your plant the best. As always, I'm always going to use my little trusted, tight to the pot, tight technique, because I think it just really gives the orchid a sense of belonging. So what I've done is, because it's really delicate, this kind of small baby and new roots developing are really just delicate. So I've kind of threaded the wire already, as you can see, right? And I'm not even gonna touch where the baby is. I'm not even gonna go that, because if I yank it a little bit too hard, I'm gonna risk breaking it off, and I have done that many times before, so I've learnt my lesson. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna take this through this hole, and I'm just gonna position it remember, because you've soaked it, the roots are quite malleable, which really helps in you kind of turning the position. So tie it a little bit tight there so that it feels like there's a hug. It feels like it's belonging to something, you know. There we go. So there we go. And then I'm just going to cut that extra bit of wire, and I'm going to place this here. So I know this is twisted a little bit towards the side and it's not really in the center, but I'm not gonna really stress and worry about it because I think the plant is in a better position. So great. Oops. Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of air. I haven't compacted the media either because I do want that drainage and that. And the clay pot will hopefully offer a little bit more media, humidity and stuff, but not soaking wet. So yeah, hopefully pray with me, you know, that we can save this at least, if not both. So here we are, Laelia jongheana. Now this bit is a little bit more tricky because obviously it had the new growth, you know, but it's kind of fallen off by itself, and you can see this is really rotting. Now I know Moira says that he doesn't think we'll be able to save this, but I'd never give up hope. Actually, he doesn't give up hope more than me, so I'm gonna try. And the beauty is that we have a couple of new products which I'm really looking forward to trying out. So as you can see, I've sprayed my secateurs with hydrogen peroxide. I'm going to cut off that bit without cutting it off the roots, you know, without taking this off, because this plant will still need the roots. Yeah. Now again, physan or Trianum, and I am going to dip it. Now I don't know if you noticed, but I did the healthier plant first because this is the plant that has the rot, so I didn't want to dip this and then dip the healthy plant in that so that the rot goes in. So just, you know, if you have a plant that's not very happy or is infected, just put it in your solution last. I mean, I should actually be using a new solution, but I just find that sometimes these things are so rare to get that I actually just want to make the most of it. Yes, I am being a little bit stingy, but I think it's also a bit more practical, you know, so I'll just soak it around, right, and manage to get all that bark off. Now, what I need to do with this is I need to try and give it enough humidity for it to be able to shoot new roots. However, also not keep it soaking wet, and still allow good air movement because Laelias like air movement. So I've come up with a plan with Moira, and I'm hoping it works. Now I've got a little tiny incy wincy pot. I've got a stake, but what I'm really excited to show you is, in the absence of sphagnum moss, we've got rock wool. This is a new product that Sprouts Organics have kind of launched, and when I saw it, I've read a lot about rock wool. I've got a lot of orchids from Netherlands and stuff with this in their orchid pots. So when I saw it on their Instagram page, I was like, oh my god, I have to try it. So they kindly sent it over to me to try. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a little bit of bark and pumice in this little incy wincy pot which I had sterilized. Okay, and I'm just compacting it down a little bit, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this little shoot on this stake. Okay, I'm going to tie that. I'm going to tie it slightly loose, slightly tight, like, you know, just Now I'm taking kind of my own version of this sphagnum bag and trying to do it. Okay, actually I'll move it a bit lower. Okay, so I think that should be good. Yeah. Okay, so I'll take that a bit lower. So what I've done is I've soaked one of those cubes of rock wool in water. So as you can see, it's like a stone, and it's very, very absorbent with water. So I'm assuming if you put this with nutrients and things like that, it would absorb everything. So it would really keep a lot of moisture in your pot. So I'm planning to use this for my frags, for my paths, you know, in the absence of sphagnum moss, which has been really, really difficult to get. So I'm hoping. So I'm going to put this on top, and in this little hole I'm going to kind of try and insert the stake in. Now Michael at Sprouts Organics told me not to make sure that I don't press the rock wool too much, because it then closes up the pores. Once it's absorbed the water, it closes up the pores and then won't be as absorbent as a sponge like that it is. So here's what I've done. As you can see, the base is not touching the rock wool. The roots are, which hopefully will be able to absorb some of the humidity and the moisture. And I'm hoping that if I put this in a really well ventilated, slightly warm kind of environment, that the moisture and the humidity from this will actually boost and cause these eyes to, I don't know if you can see quite as if you can see these eyes, to kind of plump up and shoot and have some roots. So pray with me, hopefully this works. I haven't put any fertilizer or anything over here because I just want humidity first, and as soon as I see the roots coming out, I will kind of spray the fertilizer on the rock wool, and hopefully that will be good nutrients for the Laelia. So there we go, trying to save my little Laelia jongheana. I hope this helps.